Hey everyone, how's it going? Happy Friday. So today I'm talking about, well actually first before I start, welcome to the Periscope. I'm Jennifer Blanchard. I'm an author and a story coach. I work with serious emerging novelists who want to save time, cut years off their learning curves, and write better stories so that they can get published faster. So today I'm talking about the number 2 and number 3 thing that stop you from writing your novel. I actually talked about the number 1 thing the other day, and that's fear. If you want to catch the replay of that, you can go to this link right here, catch.me/JenniferBlanchard, and catch the replay of the number 1 thing that stops you from writing your novel. And today I'm going to talk about 2 and 3. So there are 3 things that stop you from writing your novel. The first one is fear, which like I said, I talked about in the other video. And then today we're talking about distractions and disorganization, because those are the other 2 things that will stop you from writing your novel. So when it comes to distractions, there are 2 types of distractions. So there are distractions that keep you from getting to the page, and then there are distractions that distract you once you're at the page. And the good thing is that you can actually, overcome this pretty easily. And the way to do it is like this. Write down all the things that distract you from your writing. And then put all of these items into 2 categories. Either distractions that keep you from getting to the page, or distractions once you get to the page. And then you want to make a plan for how you're going to remove or reduce these distractions as much as possible. So here are some ideas on how you can do that. So for distractions that keep you from getting to the page, so these are things that stop you from actually sitting down in front of your laptop or your computer, your notebook, whatever. But here's some ways you can overcome the distractions. So reduce your, I like the Foo Fighters too. They're awesome. Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. Okay, so here's what you can do to reduce the distractions to getting to the page. Reduce your social events or outings to once a week maximum. Hire help once or twice a week to, help you do things that you would normally be doing to distract yourself from writing. So things like get a babysitter, get a dog walker, get somebody to clean your house for you, run errands, whatever you need to have some free time for your writing. Get your family's buy-in. So ask your family to support you in getting your writing done by, if you're going to write for an hour every day, let's say, ask your family if for that 1 hour they can support you by not bothering you, by taking care of anything themselves for that 1 hour so that you can actually get your writing done. It's really important to get buy-in from the people who live in our houses, especially because they're going to be a huge distraction for us. And so if you can get buy-in and get them to support what you're doing, it's going to be a lot easier to keep them from distracting you. So make it more convenient to write. So maybe right now the writing isn't convenient enough, and that's why you're distracted and not getting to the page. So write on your lunch break. Make notes throughout the day. Bring your laptop with you and keep it near you so that when you have a chance to write, you can grab it and work on stuff. I used to love writing on my lunch breaks when I had a corporate job. That's what I used to do. It was my happy moment of the day when I was doing stuff I hated all day long. And I got to sit down for, 30 to 60 minutes on my lunch breaks and do some writing. And for me, that was really awesome. And also it helped me keep the momentum going, because even if I didn't get back to the page later, at least I knew I had 30 to 60 minutes already done that day. Another way to get past the distractions is to set up a reward system. So this works really well if you can do things that you enjoy. So for example, let's say you love going for walks outside. So you would set up a reward system. So you would say, okay, I'm going to write for 30 minutes, and then right after, I'm going to reward myself by going out for a 15-minute walk. Or whatever, for some people it might be that you want to watch a TV show, or you want to read, or whatever. It's up to you. It's your reward system, so you decide what's going to make you feel the happiest and the most rewarded for having done your writing. And then really just build writing into your routine. So for me now, if I'm in writing mode, as far as like if I'm working on a novel or something like that, I write first thing in the morning before I do anything else. So, I have my morning routine that I do, but then after that, instead of working or, watching TV or whatever, I will sit down and do my writing for 1 hour, minimum of 30 minutes. So some days I can't get an hour, but at least minimum of 30 minutes. And the more you do this, the more you'll get, in the habit of doing it. Now, when it comes to distractions, once you get to the page, here are some ways that you can deal with that. So once you sit down and start writing and then all of a sudden you find yourself being distracted, here are some stuff that you can do. So install an internet or website blocker on your computer. I used to have to do this a lot more than I do now, but this sort of software will make it so that you can't be online at all during your writing period. So you basically set it up so that when you have it on and you start writing, you can't check any websites. If you try, it's not going to let you. And it's pretty awesome. And, since you can't be on the internet, you won't be as distracted. Create a private oasis where you can write. So everybody needs to have their writing space. And even if it's just a spot at your dining room table or something, you still want to make it as inspirational and just motivational as possible. So, surround yourself with whatever you love, flowers or candles, incense, whatever you want to have to inspire you and to just keep you sitting there and not feeling distracted. And use headphones. So sometimes you're writing in a place where it's a little loud, or maybe you're even at home, but you just can't really get concentrating because the noise around you. So if you don't have a door you can close, if you're, writing at your table or something, headphones work really well. I sometimes just plug them in and don't even turn anything on, but just the fact that they're in my ears is keeping the noise reduced, and so that helps me to not get as distracted. I like to listen to music when I write, though, so if I am having headphones, most of the time there's music. Set a timer. So this is a huge one for me. I get distracted really easily when I'm at the page, and so setting a timer, for 20 minutes so that I know I'm not going to stop writing until that timer goes off. So that really helps me not to be distracted. And also I know there's an end point, so I'm not feeling as freaked out like, oh my gosh, I have to sit here for an hour and write. No, it's just 20 minutes, and then I can get up and do whatever. Clear your space. So sometimes we just get distracted because we have so much crap on our desks or so much stuff around us. And so the more you can remove things and just kind of have them away from you during your writing time is going to help you make sure that you are less distracted. My dog decided to play with his chew toy. Can you hear him squeaking in the background? So journal for 10 to 15 minutes before you start writing. Sometimes distractions are just a mental clutter, and so if you can, write things down in your journal or just write down everything you're thinking of right now, it will help to clear out some of the clutter in your mind so you don't get as distracted. And then design a startup ritual or a routine that you can do right before you start writing. So here's the one that I use. I set my timer for 10 minutes and I am allowed to do anything I want on the internet for 10 minutes. So usually I check Facebook, in the groups that I'm in. Sometimes I'll look at my email, whatever. When the timer goes off, I have to close my browser. So the browser, I just exit out completely so that it's not, minus and it's there in the bottom. I'm not hearing Facebook pings, none of that. I just turn it off completely. I take my phone, I turn on my music, I flip my phone upside down so it's facing the ground and, facing the bottom of the table. So that way I'm not looking at the screen, seeing Facebook messages popping up and things like that may distract me. And then I just get into my writing session and really just keep going and make sure that I am writing. And I set a timer again for when I do write. So about 20 minutes, sometimes 30. And when the timer goes off, then I can stop, take a break, and maybe I'll go back and do it again. But really, when you can address distractions from this way, it will help you so much more to just get your writing done, to have more of a routine that you can do, and just really make sure that you are not going to take yourself away from doing the writing that you really want to do. Now, when it comes to the third thing that will distract you from writing, a lot of times the distractions and the fear are just excuses that you can use to not write. But what's really bothering you or what's really stopping you in that moment is number 3, which is disorganization. So if your story isn't organized, if you don't have an organized way of doing your writing, it will cause you to be distracted, or it will cause you to not want to write. So let's say how many times has this happened to you? So, you have a great idea for a story, you write it down on a piece of paper or on a Post-it note or something, and then later you, go to the grocery store or the movies or something, and you get another idea for that same story. But since you're not home, you can't write it on that same piece of paper. So you write it on another piece of paper and stick it in your bag. And then, you're out doing something else later and you get another idea. So then you have to write this one on a napkin because you don't have any paper with you. And the more you do this, the more you see, I've got, notes for everything all over the place. And that's really going to make it hard for you to, keep track of everything, and you'll lose some of the ideas you have and all of that. So really, if you can just find a way to organize these ideas and keep them all in the same place, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to make sure that you aren't as disorganized. So what I like to do, and there's really two ways you can do this. So the first one I call the folders method, and the second one is called the notebooks method. So I prefer the notebooks method, but some people like digital, and so the folders one works too. And I'll explain them both. So the first one is the folders method. So that's when you create folders on your computer, however many for each story that you have, one folder per story or per idea. And then anytime you get an idea for this, anytime you come up with something that goes with that story, you put it in that same folder. Now, if you have Dropbox or something like that, that's where I keep my stuff on my folders. And at least then you always have it with you. And if you need to add something, you can. There's also programs you can use like Evernote. That's a really great one for keeping track of everything and keeping it all in one place. The idea here is to just keep it all in one place so you're not running around trying to find, that piece of paper and that napkin and that notebook you wrote it in, and, because that just gets annoying and also makes it so that you really, maybe you'll lose things or you'll forget things, and you don't want to do that. Now, I like the notebooks method because for me, this just works better. But what I do is I have a single notebook that I use for each story idea. So every idea has its own notebook. And I keep, the idea in there. And anytime something new comes to me for it, I uncover another detail that goes with that story. I write it in the same notebook. And that way, I'm not having to run around or look through folders or anything like that. I just know this is the notebook that goes with this story. And I can pull it back out when I need it and work on it from there. And just having a little bit more organization with your writing life will make it a lot easier for you to stay focused, to not be as distracted, and to not lose things that are really important for your story. So I hope this was helpful. And again, just to kind of recap the number 2 and 3 things. So the number 2 thing that stops you from writing is being distracted. And the number 3 thing is being disorganized. And again, if you want to know the number 1 thing, that's fear. And you can go to this URL right here, catch.me/JenniferBlanchard, if you want to watch that replay and see how to deal with fear. Otherwise, I hope this was helpful. And next week, I'm starting something really awesome. I'm going to be doing, let's see. Hudson Phillips, hey, how are you? How long do you develop a story before you start to write? Well, for me, I actually have a 6-week story planning process that I use, and it helps me to plan my idea from start to finish so that I have a full roadmap with every scene that I need, all of my story structure. But I also like to have some marination time, so I'll do the 6-week process, and then I'll usually take, 2 weeks or 3 weeks off before I get into writing so that I have time to go back now and review my roadmap, just make sure that everything is strong, it's clear. Because for me, I don't like to write anything unless I have the full plan ready to go, because that for me is the best way to make sure my first draft is actually usable and not just a piece of crap that I end up throwing away because it sucks. And so for me, the planning process is a little bit, more in depth than most people probably, but that's just because I know myself and I know that if I don't have all these pieces in place before I write, that I'm probably not going to finish. So for me, that's what works best. And again, everybody's different, so you are welcome. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. And actually, next week, I'm starting something really cool. It's called NaNoPlanMo. So anyone doing National Novel Writing Month, which starts November 1st, I'm going to be doing a Periscope every day of the week, so Monday through Friday. And each week, I'm going to talk about a different topic so that you can get working on your story plan so that November 1st, you can sit down and start writing right away and have your full plan, know exactly what you need to write, and not be sitting down and going, oh, shoot, what do I need to write now? Because that just makes it even harder to get to the page. And for me, if I have a roadmap, if I know where I'm going with my story, I'm less distracted and I'm much more motivated to sit down and write. So be checking that out next week. And if anyone wants help going through this 6-week story planning process and making your story, come to life, I would love for you to join me for a free clarity call to see if we'd be a good fit to work together and for me to walk you through this process. And you can go to JenniferBlanchard.net/clarity call to sign up for that. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will catch you next week. Bye. Have a great weekend.